Hey everyone, welcome to Danny Chats. This is episode number 14, and today I'm joined by Jessica. Hi Jessica.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. And you're from the UK, aren't you?
Yes, right next to Gatwick,
Right next to
quite
Gatwick.
central.
Yeah, nice. So, do you want to tell me, because again, you're sort of slightly different to most of the people I've had on in the fact you haven't had a liver transplant. So,
So
do
I
you want?
have, but
Are
really,
you?
really young,
Oh,
really young.
okay. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Do you want to tell me about that then?
Yeah, so I was born with biliary atresia. So my parents knew that I was going to be quite poorly before I was born. I was born with biliary atresia, was quite poorly for the first year, and then had a Kasai procedure.
Oh, what's that? Sorry.
Kasai, I think it's to try and kind of like stop the biliary ducts.
Okay.
Wasn't too much of a problem. I don't know that much about it because I was so
Yeah.
young.
Yeah.
Um, which then failed. So I was then okay for a short while, I think after for about a year maybe, and then got quite poorly again. And I was kind of going downhill rapidly up until about six. When I was six, I was so poorly that they said we were basically out of time. I'd been on the list for so long, nothing was happening. So they ended up doing a live donor transplant. So my mum ended up giving me half of her liver because
Oh,
I was literally
wow.
out of time. There was
Yeah.
nothing they could do. I was literally like skin and bones and bright yellow. Like people would stare at me in the street, like completely point and stare.
Yeah.
She didn't have very long.
That's crazy that your mom was a match and everything.
Yeah, she was very lucky. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was
And
very
the
lucky.
and the jaundice, like I was jaundiced myself, but you don't realise, and I didn't realise how yellow people get until I saw someone else in hospital. And I thought, oh God, I
Yeah.
must have been like that.
Yeah, like looking back on photos, because obviously I was so young, I don't really remember anything from my childhood. I think it's
Yeah.
probably like a little bit of like, because it's a trauma, like your brain forgets,
Yeah,
almost like a
yeah.
bit like PTSD. You just don't
Yeah.
remember any of it.
Yeah.
So I don't remember anything really, like a couple of little snippets. But I look at the photos and I was literally like bright yellow, and like
Yeah.
my eyes were just awful, and I looked so poorly. But I don't remember ever feeling like that. Like I remember not really being able to run and jump around like all the kids and getting really tired and always having like a cannula in my hand and having somebody come to the house to take my blood all the time and stuff like that. I don't remember feeling like poorly.
Yeah. Because it was all you was used to, I suppose.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's
yeah,
mad.
so your mum was a match, which is incredible. And then I think a living donors, it's amazing that they can do that.
Yeah, I think we were one of the first, to be honest. It wasn't like a normal thing because this was back in 2001. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like something that happened all the time. We were definitely one of the first in the UK. And so my mum wrote me a diary while we were going through all of it, and
Yeah.
like before, and in her diary I remember there was a bit that says like even laying on the operating table they were like, you don't have to do this, like you really don't have to do this is such a big risk, like don't do it. And she was like, no, of course I'm going to do it. But
I've got to do it.
yeah, I mean, can't I can't even bear to think. I guess now I'm a grown up ish, at 26. Like I can't bear to think how much that must have been, like how scary that must have been. And for my dad to have both of us in the hospital, like going under the knife at exactly the same time, nearly, must have been
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, very, very nerve-wracking and scary at that time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So I've lived a very normal life up to that, up until like I've had very minor blips, like nothing major. Not really been to the hospital very much. I think I had like one biopsy like 5, 6 years ago. Then
yeah,
I had a bad year last year. I had a really bad year. I had like a blockage in my liver. I knew I had an infection. I went up to King's and they were like, yeah, you've got an infection, like it's fine. But I remember sitting in the ultrasound and I'd never experienced something like this because I don't remember anything like being wrong.
yeah,
And they were like, the person scanning me was like, oh, I need to go and get a doctor. I was like, what? Why? I was really like, I don't understand, because I knew I wasn't 100%. I'd had a blood test because I'd been feeling a bit under the weather. I remember my doctor calling me at work, like, what is going on, sort of thing. Like, your bloods are really, really bad. We need to get you up to King's for a checkup, like, in the next few days. And I was like, oh my God, should I stay at work? Like, am I okay?
yeah,
And then, yeah, I had a blockage in my bile duct and they gave me some antibiotics. I was on antibiotics for like a couple of months, felt a bit better, then stopped antibiotics for a while. I remember being at work and I'd been feeling really rough, like not really eating, sleeping a lot. I'd had like a really bad itch and I knew that I wasn't 100%, but I'd collapsed at work a couple of
yeah,
times, like over a couple of weeks. I went home just thinking it was like a virus or something, like from where I hadn't been well. And I was like in bed, like crying in pain, like where my side hurt so much and I was just feeling so awful. And then, yeah, I felt a lot better. I went back to work. This was after a couple of weeks. I'd been off for like a few days, felt fine in between, then did a collapse again at work. And then and then I ended up going to the doctor. I was like, I'm feeling a bit better. Can you just like give me something for it? They were like, oh no, I think you're really, really poorly. Like you need to go and get your blood test done like now. And I was like, oh God, okay. Came back and they were like, right, we're going to call you tonight. And I remember eating dinner and they were like, well, you think you need to go to hospital like right now? Like, can you get somebody to get you there like in half an hour, like as soon as, or do you need an ambulance? And I was like, no, but I'm going to finish my dinner first. Like, I'm not going to rush off. And I got there and they were like, quickly sorted me. And I remember being in hospital for like 2.5 weeks. But I didn't realise how ill I was. I was in our local East Surrey for like a few days and I was having to have like scans and stuff. And I was really struggling with the scans because I was just feeling grotty and like not like a really tight mobile MRI and stuff like that. And then they sent me up to King's when there was a bed available. It was only when I got to King's, the doctor, I heard him running up the corridor and I was sitting in my room. He was like, is she stable? Is she stable? And I was like, are they talking about me? Like, I've just walked up like 3-4 flights of stairs. I'm absolutely fine. Like, and they were talking about me because it turns out that I had sepsis, but nobody had told me that.
Oh, really?
I was just really lucky that it got caught so early. And then, yeah, luckily, like loads and loads of antibiotics, had an ERCP and sent home and I was fine. But I was there for a few weeks. And
Yeah.
On
the, is it Todd Ward? Was you on Todd Ward? Yeah. Yeah, because I went to King's as well. And I love that place. Like, I think the staff and everyone are amazing.
Yeah, they are great. It's a lot different to my local hospital, but they are really, really great.
Yeah, I bet. So, you and your mum went through the sort of recovery period at the same time?
Yeah, I don't really remember much. Like, I think I bounced quite quickly back, but like beforehand, I couldn't really walk. Like, I was being like pushed around in like a buggy or a wheelchair or something. Like, I had like the worst swelling on my knees and my tummy.
Yeah.
I was really off my food and stuff. And I remember this bit, and this is really weird. I think I remember stuff because I see photos, and I remember being in ICU, and my dad had a can of Coke or a bottle of Coke, and I was like, I want that. Like, you've got to give me that bottle of Coke. And he was like, no, you're in ICU. You can't have the bottle of Coke. So I think I bounced back quite quick. I had like, reading the diary, I think I had a couple of like minor things, like as you do, but I think you're lucky when you're a child almost because you don't feel the trauma, you don't see it.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah, there's two things to be in with the transplant because they told me someone who's older, they are less likely to have rejection because their immune system's lower. Whereas when you're younger, you've got such a good immune system. Obviously, it fights the liver, so there's that more chance of rejection. So, but when you are younger, you do bounce back quicker, and so it's sort of there's the highs and lows.
Yeah, and you don't remember it. I think that's a good thing, you know. I think it would be much harder to go for it now for me than it would then because it just would disrupt my life so much more now than it would have when I was really little.
Okay. Yeah, your dad must have been busy looking after you two when you come out of hospital.
Yeah, we had a fair bit of help. Like I had a community nurse and that was with me quite a long time afterwards, to be fair. And we had family members that would come and like look after me. But reading that diary is just so like it's so hard seeing like him literally he would never leave my side ever. And he would like run to go for a wee or something. Like he'd run to have a shower because he didn't want to leave me. Even if someone else would hit me, I wouldn't let him go. I was like so like don't leave me here. And I think it's harder because I didn't have my mum, like I just had him. And it, you know, he was great, but I think my mum probably suffered because she didn't see him very much because he was with me 24/7. So yeah, it must have been really hard. Like I can't imagine it now, like thinking about it because you know, I'm at the age where all my friends have started to have kids and stuff. And like, I think, God, you can see it a lot clearer, can't you, when you're nearer that sort of stage?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you can definitely see how for a parent it would be really, really, really hard and worrying.
Yeah. It's one of those things they had to.
Yeah,
didn't really have much choice.
Yeah, my parents were very much the same, sort of taking it in turns to stay in King's because King's was like it's about an hour and 2 hours away from my house.
Okay.
So yeah, so it was like a bit of a travel there. But yeah, having them around, and then when I came out of hospital, because I was on medication to try and sort of stabilize everything, and to get that medication right, there was sort of, I was constantly being sick, and then they'd move it about slightly. And every time I got home and I was sick, that was it. My mum was just straight back onto the hospital, like ambulance, back in for a few
Oh
days.
God.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't remember anything like that.
yeah. But then
Okay.
after a while, it kind of leveled out. We got used to it, with being nauseous and dealing with it. So but it's just that worry at the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you get used to certain things, don't you? Like, I've had like so many infections last year after sepsis. I was so poorly. I picked up every single bug because my immune system just took such a knock. And I remember, I was in hospital all the time, and I still have it. Like the other night, I was in the hospital in A&E because I'd had what I thought was a small infection. And like the second that you speak to a GP, they're like, no, no, you have to go down to A&E. And it's like, oh God, like, can't you
Yeah,
just sort this out? Like, I don't want to spend 6 hours there. And you spend 6 hours there, or they'll keep you. Remember last Christmas, they were like, you have the flu, like you really have to stay in hospital. I was like, no, I'm going home. I'm not
yeah,
spending Christmas in hospital. Just give me some drugs and I'll be fine. Like I know what I'm doing now.
yeah. You kind of get to know your own body, don't you? Do you have the flu jab?
Yeah, yeah, I still
Yeah, I
managed to
have
get the
that.
flu.
Yeah.
Bad. Not as
Yeah,
bad, obviously, but it's I have every jab possible. I think I just take everything. You
yeah,
just don't want to. I don't want to be in that place again where I was really poorly.
yeah, yeah. So, and you're kind of, we're in such a weird time now, aren't we, for being able to do anything, like being able to
Yeah,
go out and work and
yeah, it's really hard. Like last year, I was like, right, next year will be my year. I'm going to go on holiday. I'm going to go out loads because I hadn't like left the hospital
yeah,
very much. I was in like at least once or twice a month for the whole year, and then coronavirus hit. But I'm trying to look at the positives. I have got so much weller the last year. Like I've only been to hospital once, which was the other day, like as in like emergency
yeah,
hospital. I haven't spent any time in like I've just focused on myself and my health, and I've been so much better. But yeah, I think being ill like last year just taught me so much. Like I hadn't really acknowledged that I was ill before. Not that I'm
yeah,
like ill, but obviously I hadn't really realised that I'd had a transplant and I had a chronic illness because I just lived like a completely normal life.
yeah,
I didn't stop it doing anything. I would go out with my friends all the time. I'd go away. I do like it was almost like it didn't exist. Like I'd forget.
yeah, yeah.
But then
That,
last year changed that.
yeah, I kind of was the same with Wilson's disease because I was diagnosed so young, 14. It became such a part of life. It wasn't until I needed my transplant, and then I started to think about it all again,
Mm.
and it was, it's a big shock in a way.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me last year. It was like nobody even knew at work that I had this.
Yeah,
And when I was
exactly.
like so poorly in the office, I was like hot, cold, collapsing almost. I was like very nearly collapsed. I was just a total wreck. And they were like, oh my God, what's wrong? And I was like, well, I know that I have an infection. I have this. And they were like, I had no idea because I just didn't let it show anything. I just
Yeah,
lived a normal life. And I think that was the shocker coming around to it. And my friends knew, but not like knew the reality of actually what it could mean because I've never had that side of it.
yeah, the
So it
severity of
changed
it.
my life. Yeah, it
Yeah,
literally changed my life last year. I live a completely different life to what I did before. And I've connected with so many people that are like in similar situations. And I think that's helped me so much more than anything. Because all the things that I thought, oh, I'm just being silly, or oh, this can't be real. Well, actually, it probably is real. Just
yeah,
nobody that I knew what to say or what to do or had experienced it.
yeah, yeah. There's a hell of a lot of emotions that go with it, and
Yeah,
the reality of it is it can be really tough at times. Like, we
yeah,
are vulnerable, as hard as it is to admit.
yeah, yeah. And I think you need a support system, right? And that's really hard finding
100%.
that support system. My parents were like, "Oh, you're fine, you're fine," and I think because I've been fine for so long, nobody expected me to take that big turn.
Yeah,
Um, and I didn't have that support system really. I have a few close friends, but I'd say I don't really speak to them all the time. And I think that's really hard. I spent a lot of time in hospital on my own.
yeah,
I'd go down to like my ERCP to be put under general, and I'd go down for stuff like that completely on my own.
yeah,
Most easier, I think, sometimes on your own because you don't have time to get upset or stressed. But in that moment, you will be.
yeah,
Doing it on my own, I feel better, but I didn't have anyone to come either. Like my parents would come, but I didn't want them to see me like in such a state and so upset. I'd be like,
yeah,
oh no, it'd be fine. I can do this. I can do this. And I remember like just calling them, crying, like I can't do this on my own and waking up. And they'd be like, all these people in the recovery rooms with like their partners or their family, and I'd just be there on my own, like absolute state. But
Yeah,
you build it, right? You build your support system, and I now have that with people that are in a similar situation.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I was very, very lucky because I'm the same. Like, I went every time I got the phone call for the transplant. Because I had three sort of times that I went up and it didn't happen. But every time I went in an ambulance by myself, my sister insisted that she drove up. She was so persistent and insistent that she was going to be there. Because I said, I'll be fine. I'm not. Like, I don't need anyone there. But you know, like it was really nice that she was there.
Yeah.
And she'd been working in Leeds, so she drove all the way back from Leeds to the hospital. Like it was manic what she did, but it did help. It was nice.
Yeah, you have to accept that help, don't you? And I think it's
Yeah,
almost someone knowing you that, you know, you're saying I don't need it, but actually they're like, no, I know you do need it.
yeah,
Tough luck.
yeah. So you were obviously on anti-rejection tablets from early.
hmm
How was you with taking those?
I think pretty good. Like I've been, because my parents were like, you will take them. Like,
Yeah,
have you done them? I'm pretty good. I
yeah,
miss like the every odd now and again, or when I'm not well, or like sometimes I fall asleep. I'm quite bad. I do them at night in
yeah,
that sense because I would always forget in the mornings, like if I'd have to go to work.
yeah.
But I've got a little routine now. But unless I forget because I'm not well or I fall asleep, it's very rare that I miss them. I've
Yeah.
heard that apparently girls are better than boys. Some people
Really?
have told me that. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm really good at I'm so used to taking medication. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I went up to King's the other day for my blood test and I forgot I wasn't supposed to take my medication before. So I
Oh
went all the way
yeah.
up there and they couldn't do the test. Yeah. But it's so routine. I literally wake up in the morning and they're sort of in my bedside table. So it's the first thing I do.
Yeah. And I think having a plan with that helps, right? I have a
Yeah.
pot, I lay them all out. It's an absolute nightmare chore. I absolutely hate putting them all in the pots, but that actually really helps because otherwise, if you've got them scattered everywhere, you just forget.
Don't do it. Yeah, and you leave one out. Because I mean, with Wilson's disease, I was on way more tablets than I am now. I'm literally just on the anti-rejection and one aspirin.
Oh,
Whereas
that's good.
before, yeah, before I was taking tablets morning, lunch, and dinner, like,
Gosh.
and you do have to stay on top of it then, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. I take quite a few, but not mainly for like my liver. I take a couple for my liver.
Yeah,
Just my anti-rejection. I take sedolic acid. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but yeah, I'm very lucky. I don't really take anything. I came off them fairly quickly, I think.
yeah, the steroids and stuff. You probably would have, 'cause like you say, when you're young, your body's fit and able.
Yeah, yeah. I was glad to get rid of those. They give you
Yeah,
those chunky cheeks, don't they? And they make you so much more like reliant on them.
yeah.
Rather
I had
than
horrible night terrors
oh,
on
really? Oh
the
God.
steroids. Yeah, but apart from that, I think that was like the main side effect. Do you have any other side effects from your anti-rejection tablets? Really?
No, you wouldn't even know that I take them. I
That's
don't really
good.
suffer with anything. I'm very,
Yeah,
very lucky. Like I said, I've literally lived like a completely normal life, other than having a giant scar across my stomach and like a few where the drains were and stuff like that. You wouldn't know.
have you got the Mercedes cut?
No,
No.
I like a wiggly line across my tummy,
Oh,
and then
really?
like yeah,
I would
yeah,
have thought, I don't know why, but just because of like how long ago you had your operation, I would have thought it would have been Mercedes cut. Because I mean, I don't even know. I spoke to surgeons and they said it is literally surgeons' preference on how they want to do it. So yeah, because I was expecting a Mercedes cut, and then when I woke up and saw it, it was just mine's like a little graph. So yeah,
yeah. I think maybe because I was younger, I don't know.
maybe yeah. What about your mum? Has she got the same cut?
No, I think she does have the Mercedes. To be fair,
Yeah, because I would have thought they would have had two different surgeons obviously working on
yeah,
you both at the same time. Yeah. Wow.
yeah. It's a long slog for both.
Yeah. And yeah, so you both went in together. That's just amazing.
I
And your
think
mum's
a couple of hours earlier, but like because they have to get it ready, right? But
yeah.
otherwise, yeah,
And your mum's been all right since.
yeah, she's been really good. Luckily, like I think we were lucky that she was, you know, it wasn't like I said, like nowish because I don't know what I'd do because she wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to do it now. She's a lot older. Um, but yeah, she's been really good. Like
Yeah.
she got discharged after like a year or so, like of checkups.
Nice. Because they say that I was speaking to a doctor and she said that the liver can regrow within 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. So they regrow really quickly, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's insane. Insane.
mad. It throws your mind, doesn't it, when you think about that sort of stuff? Because you're like, how does that even work? Like, how does
Yeah.
it happen? Don't
Yeah.
think about it too hard.
And why is the liver the only organ that does it? Like, what's in the liver
Yeah.
that makes it regrow? It's weird.
Yeah, why can't we do it with all the others now?
Yeah. We were talking about 3D printing organs because on the off chance I said, do you know anything about it? Is it going to happen? And she said, funnily enough, for the last 2 or 3 years, they go to a medical conference and every year there's been a small segment on it. And she said it is sort of getting closer and closer.
That'd be really interesting, wouldn't it? How much
Yeah.
that would change everything.
Yeah, it would change. I mean, everyone could have one if they needed it. It'd be mad.
Yeah. It's so much better than it was. So when I was leading my transport, though, like there's so little people that would donate then, whereas now
Yeah.
it's so much better. I think,
Yeah.
we're in a very lucky situation that we can influence it to a degree. Like we can share our story. I think I haven't really shared my story like with people in the last like 10, 12 years. And I think I put it out on the organ donation week, and like the amount of response that I got back was just like I didn't
Really good.
expect it, to be honest. Yeah, and everyone was like really supportive. And I think lots of people said to me, hearing it from somebody that I know or somebody else, that's been in that situation that you wouldn't know, like really puts it into perspective. And I think, we're in a very lucky situation that we can do that, and we
Yeah.
can show people the difference that it can make just by thinking about it, and I think that's a really lucky position to be in.
Yeah, definitely. And well, the laws have changed slightly here, haven't they? So it's
Yeah.
now opt out. But talking to doctors and stuff, they said it's still when you're there at the end, the family can still say that they don't want it to go ahead. So to
I
anyone
know.
listening, it's important to speak to your family if you
100%.
if you do want to be an organ donor. Yeah, tell your family.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, all we can do is talk about it and share our story and try and be, you know, as open and honest as we can. And, it's a difficult decision. I completely appreciate that. But, I was a 6-year-old girl that was gonna die because nobody would give their organs. And I think I'm a fairly normal blood group. Like I'm not a really
One
niche blood
myself.
group or anything like. Yeah, it just there wasn't enough people, and I've been on it for 6 years, and I hadn't got one, and I was literally dying, like
Yeah.
weeks off dying. It's awful.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear some people that were on or are still on the waiting list, and they've
Yeah.
been on it 2 or 3 years. I mean, I was on there for like 6 months, and that 6 months just
Wow.
felt so long. So I couldn't imagine doing years.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. Like I can't imagine it now, but
No,
you
because that
just never know, do you?
must be sort of years without holidays and stuff as well. Because
You can't be out the area.
no, I'm presuming you're literally on call all that time. So
Yeah, you must have to have a bag like in your car always and stuff like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's weird to think about it, like, because I don't remember any of it. But yeah, I think if it had to happen again, fingers crossed it won't be. You never know, I suppose. Um, it would be very different. And I've been in a very weird situation, I think.
yeah, yeah. That must have been on your mind a bit more now, like you say, because you've
Mm.
never had any problems. So right up until now.
Yeah, it does go through my mind, like I'll be completely honest. And I was having a really rough year last year, and I remember I had this pain in my side, and I still get it like quite often. They can't find out why, but I remember going to just see a random doctor in Kings because I couldn't get in with mine, and they were like, "You need to see someone. We just need to examine you, make sure that you're okay."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, we think we might have to reconsider you for transplant." I was like, "What? Like this can't be true." And I remember the coordinators coming up to me and being like, "Oh, we're the transplant coordinators." I was like, "Is this what they're trying to tell me? Like they're going to list me again?" But it turns out they just to change the process, and coordinators were your new go-to instead of just calling like reception or the doctors.
Yeah.
But they did talk about it, and it does scare me massively. But I think you've got to do what you've got to do in that situation. And I've been very lucky to live
Yeah.
nearly 20 years with a transplant with barely any problems. So if it happens, doesn't it? It's one of
Yeah.
those. Nothing that I can
Yeah.
do.
No, there's not at all. I mean, I'm in quite a few sort of Facebook groups and stuff like that. So, and I was saying to someone the other day that it's hard because you see a lot of sort of bad stories on there. So it can make you worry, and sometimes you need to take a little break from it, or just to because I'm the same. If I get like a slight pain in my side or anything that's not what I class as what I feel normal, I'm like,
Yeah,
it's all going
it freaks you
downhill.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, any sort of temperature that you need to go to A&E, and it throws me into this like, oh my god, what is this is happening again? Like, I like times like now. So when I wasn't feeling very well the other day, I was like, I'm not being in hospital over Christmas. Like, I am going to get on top of this. I'm not going to let it take over again. I'm not just going to ignore stuff. And I think you have to be really hot on stuff, don't you? And I think that's what I learned from last year, that like not to just ignore stuff, but yeah, being on those groups can freak you out, and it can pull you into like a, you know, you see people be like, oh, I was really good, and then all of a sudden I went very quickly downhill, and that's like, you don't want to almost feel like that. You want to be able to live your life without worrying about that.
Yeah. But what I will say as well is that, I mean, some of the groups I'm in have over, 20,000 people or something, and obviously most of those people are doing really well, so they don't comment on there, because you don't get people commenting on there every single day going, I'm doing really well. So it's it's not like, because you can look at those pages and think, God, everyone's got something wrong with them, everyone's going into rejection or everyone's having this, but it's not the case. It's just they're the people that have the questions, and so they will use those groups for that.
Yeah, I think they're a massive support. Like they're a great, almost like, I'd say like a friendship bubble in that sense. Not like you'd meet up, I don't know, some people might meet up with each other, but I would lean on those groups a lot this last year, and I think they are a huge support to have people that understand what you're saying and you can talk to, and to be honest, are generally awake at the random times that you are as well. Like I don't know whether you have it, but I have nights where I'm like wide awake at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like not feeling well or something, and you message that group and like loads of other people are the same, and it's just so nice to have people that you can be completely honest with, because you don't, I would never say half the stuff of I'm feeling or that I would say to the group, to my friends and my parents. I'll be completely honest.
But as bad as it is, they just wouldn't understand.
And you don't want to scare them, do you? You don't want to make them feel like there's something wrong when probably there isn't. It's just you panicking.
I totally get that. That's really good. Yeah, so being in groups is good. So what have you got planned for next year, as long as, things go back to normal?
Yeah, I'd like to do like a lot of I'd like to go on holiday.
Yeah.
I want to like go out. I haven't been to a restaurant since like March, beginning of March, and then I didn't really go to a restaurant very much last year where I wasn't very well, and all the antibiotics gave me a gluten intolerance. So I was really poorly like eating. So I think in the last 2 years I probably went to a restaurant about 5 times. So I would really like to go to a restaurant in some way and, just go out, go on holiday. Oh, it's so hard. Like this is a real weird one, but dating is like a nightmare when you've got an illness, and like especially in like, when there's coronavirus, like I just want to be able to go out and like go
socialize
to, like, and go on dates, not worry about like can't get too close to me, don't want you to come anywhere near me. So yeah, I've got a lot of things planned, and I mentioned to you that I think these podcasts have helped so many people, and I've listened to so many, and they're a massive benefit. So I'd love to be able to like do something like that next year. I've got a few things that I'm planning, so hopefully
you should. That'd be good. It'd be really good. I think, like you say, the more people that share their stories and stuff, the better. Because when I was younger as well, we didn't have the internet. I mean, I sound so old when I say that, but we did have the internet, but it was really basic, So when we tried to look anything up, you found the facts about it, but you didn't find anyone's story, and the facts are always, really harsh. And and I think this is why I started these up, really. It was because I had so many questions myself, and I thought, if I have the questions, then other people will. So it'd be nice to sort of share it. And I don't know, I think this was just an easier way for me to connect with other people, without actually just messaging them off the bat going, I've got loads of questions for you, and feeling like it's a burden.
Yeah, it's not, I never feel like it's a burden though. Like the amount of people that I like share questions with, and I connect with people in similar situations. But I agree, these podcasts are like so great. I listen to them and I'm like, oh my God, I feel that way. Like, oh my God, that's me feeling like this. And it's like, it's a real like awakening, but it really helps you like accept that, you're not on your own, and, there are options and there are people to talk to. And I think, sharing our stories in these kind of ways are really helpful, and just having a chat with people and chatting about stuff. Because you're right. Google is not the answer, I'll be honest. You Google a headache and you've got something horribly wrong, right? So my biggest advice is never to Google anything.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've been recording these every Sunday now, and I really, really look forward to Sundays. Like the stories, everyone I speak to is always so happy, and they've always been through a lot, and it's always inspiring. So it's, it's just nice to see these people and speak to them.
Yeah, and I think, my goals are much higher than they were from last year. Like I'm very focused on work, and I always have been, but I've learned that work isn't everything. Like, it's very important, but actually there
Yeah,
are so many things that I want to do, like, on top of that, and I
yeah,
want to be able to really live my life to the fullest. And I think, yeah, you learn about these sort of things, don't you? You just
yeah,
take life for granted almost until something like pops that bubble, and you're like, oh wait, I should really like enjoy myself. And I've been doing a lot of workouts and stuff, and like just getting my body to be the best it can, so that I can enjoy it and I can go out and do stuff and not feel so unwell because I'm fit or something. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely way more conscious now about. I mean, I still eat enough crap, definitely, but I'm
Me
still
too.
way more, more conscious about it,
Yeah,
and I make sure I do exercise a lot. Like, not exercise, but walking, a hell of a lot of walking.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's
trying,
important.
yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much for coming on. It's been great chatting to you,
Yeah, it's been good chatting. Thank you.
and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and Christmas. If
Yes.
you can get to see anyone, will you get to see your
Yeah.
parents?
Yeah, I still live with my parents.
Oh,
I'm saving
perfect.
for a house,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's actually quite nice having people there because you've always got people there if you do become unwell or whatnot. But yeah, they have my dog, so I'm not leaving my dog behind until I like can afford a house for the garden or something for him. So yeah, I'm very lucky that I still have support around me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it won't be normal Christmas, will it, for anyone? I think you just
No,
got to enjoy it the best
not
that you can.
not at all. Not for us either. Because we normally go to one of our like nans or granddads, but this year, because we're all sort of young, my sisters have been working. I've been working on and off. We've just thought it's best to avoid them, and we'll have to
Yeah,
do it halfway through next year or something.
yeah, like summer Christmas, like they do in Australia, like have a
Yeah,
barbecue on the beach or something with a
yeah.
turkey.
I'd be well up
What?
for that. Yeah,
Yeah, what are
definitely.
you gonna do over Christmas then?
Well, we're not even really sure on what the whole rules are because I live
Oh
alone.
gosh.
So I'm not sure if you're allowed a support bubble. My sister was my support bubble, so if we are, I'm going to go to hers Christmas Day. If not, I'll just be at home in my flat. But I only moved here a few months ago, like 5 months ago. So it's all new to me. I'm really enjoying it. So if I cook myself a little Christmas dinner at home by myself, like I'll be really happy still.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Enjoy it this year, then have a massive Christmas next year as my
yeah, yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
everyone will appreciate Christmas even more next year and
Yeah,
holidays.
think about everything that we'll be doing. I see all these like memes and gifs and stuff of people like next year, and I'm like, oh yeah, next year be great.
Hopefully, hopefully.
Yeah, fingers
Brilliant.
crossed.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
Say goodbye. See you later.
Bye.